Hello everyone and welcome to another video. I've got an Arteza package that I just opened, and I figured I would open it the rest of the way on camera and test it out and see what it's all about. Test it out and see what it's all about. Arteza recently contacted me and asked if I was interested in doing a collaboration. So this package was sent to me by Arteza. I did not pay for it, and they sent it to me so that I could test it on camera for all of you guys. So this is a small, it says 5.5 inch by 3.5 inch binder, and I want to open it. So I wanted this because I've recently been using my Copic little binder to do coloring. Okay, so I'll stamp directly in here and do some coloring. All right, well, this has cool stuff on the inside. I guess that's it's not their whole line, but that's a lot of the stuff that they sell. So this is, ooh, it's got like a pocket in the back. That is so cool. You could keep, if you had those paper watercolors, you could keep those in the back here. It looks really nice. My favorite watercolor paper right now. So this is my favorite watercolor paper. This is the Ranger watercolor cardstock, and it is super bright white. You can see the difference there. But I do still like the off-white. It's just I usually reach for the bright white watercolor paper. I just think it makes truer colors. But sometimes you could go for a more subtle look with the off-white. And for practicing, I mean, it's fantastic. The quality and the weight is really nice. And it's got like a little ribbon so you could mark your page. Oh, you could do like a little journal in here. That'd be cool. So it comes with a pack of 2. The next thing was the 5.5 by 8.5 binders. You get the 9 by 12 like Canson or the Bristol paper. It's in a 9 by 12 pad that you get from the craft store. And when I cut it down, I feel like I'm wasting a lot. So I'd rather get a half sheet of 8, like this is half of an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper. Okay, so when this is perforated here, you can take out just this piece, and it's half of a sheet of paper. So when I slit it down the center, then it's going to be 2 card fronts. So yeah, this book is actually more yellow or off-white than the little binder here. And it seems to be like more textured, so that might be cool. And then this side is flat. The Real Brush pens by Arteza. I do have the Zig Clean Color Real Brush markers. But these, of course, are interesting to me, and this is the set of 48. I don't enjoy watercoloring in general with these types of pens, but I was hoping to test it out and maybe that could change my mind. So we're gonna play with these. Okay, so the paper was a little bit tough to get out of the coil. It was it's a very heavyweight cardstock, so it took some muscle to get it out of there. That could be a good thing if you're traveling with it. Here is what it looks like up close. It does have a very nice texture to it. This pack of water brushes is amazing. It's like 6 different widths of water brush. It's quite long, and you expel the water by pumping the sides, not the back. The back is actually, it doesn't do anything. I'm comparing it to this Faber-Castell Deluxe water brush. I've tried many water brushes and I don't like them really, but this is my favorite one. These Arteza ones remind me of it very much so, except for the fact that the back is not functional. Here's what they look like with their caps on. They have 3 flat brushes and 3 round brushes, and small, medium, and large. All of the water brushes I've ever used have put out more water than I really wanted to use, so I tend not to reach for them. But this is a good, healthy assortment of sizes for a water brush collection in one pack. The 48 set of the Arteza Real Brush markers was nothing short of astonishing when I opened it up. They have the pointiest points of the brush tip. They make the finest lines. They're very long. It's very elegant to hold it, and I was very impressed. So the water brushes, you screw off the back, which is a very large container. It holds a lot of water. I'm using what I think is clean water, but it was already down here, so I'm hoping that it's not contaminated with anything. The 48 set does come with a water brush. It's this little tiny thing that doesn't seem like it would have very much control at all, so I didn't really play with it. I might take another look at it, but for now, I'm concentrating on the pack of 6. But just so you know, it does come with a water brush. So it does say Arteza Real Brush Pen on the side, as well as a color name and number. This is one of the panels from the larger book that I received. I'm just using a red color that I picked and one of the fine detail water brushes because that's what I would want to reach for. And I'm just testing out like how much water it takes to make the color move, how much pigment is coming out. These did work well. The paper seems to suck up water and liquid like a lot. I'm not a watercolorist. Is that like an excellent trait for this watercolor paper because it will absorb some liquid? At this point, I'm just comparing them to, in my mind, how I play with my Zig Clean Color Real Brush markers. So I'm just getting out a rainbow of color. I'm seeing each color and how the color payoff is and just playing around. In between each color, I did expel some of the water onto a paper towel to clean my brush off, but that was it. I really liked how fine of a detail the brush pen could give and how sturdy the water brush felt when I blended it out. Usually you want a little bit of give to your paintbrush, but I really felt like these sturdier water brushes were helping me move the water around. So now I'm doing a wet on wet technique where I wet the paper with one of the flat brushes and just blend out all the colors kind of together and see how they react together. Now, typically when I watercolor, I'm coloring an image. So now I'm going to take a Neat and Tangled Mermazing stamp set and I'm going to stamp it with VersaFine Nocturne ink, but I'm going to heat emboss it because the heat embossing actually creates like a little water well on top of your paper, and that helps you stay in the lines, and I need all the help I can get. Make sure you give this a ton of pressure because this paper is quite textured. I did all right. I'm using Hero Art's clear embossing powder, and I'm just heating up my heat tool before I bring it to my paper. It seemed to heat emboss just fine. I did warp it a little bit, so I have something heavy sitting on top of it. I'm going to play with the Ranger watercolor paper. This is the whitest watercolor paper I've ever found, and this is what I usually use. So I'm testing these brush pens on my watercolor paper that I use all the time. And I'm just seeing how different they are than what I'm used to. I'm seeing how they blend out and how it's different from the other paper. The Arteza paper seemed to absorb a ton of liquid, more so than the Ranger watercolor paper. I think that's just a difference or a preference when you're a watercolorist. I'm also comparing them to the Zigs. I'm taking the Zig marker of a similar shade and seeing just how much pigment is in it compared to the other brush pen. It does have a ton more pigment, and I did find that to be the case for several different colors. I didn't just do the one. I'm going to take some Thermoweb purple tape and my black Epicurean board and adhere my image and my watercolor paper down flat to it. This helps my image, or my piece of paper rather, stay flat while I'm adding all of this water. And I added a ton of water. You're going to see it splash all over the place, just like this image. I really enjoyed coloring with these. I think they're a good addition to any brush pen collection. I don't think they're necessarily better or worse than the Zigs. I think they behave very similarly. I think it's going to come down to what your coloring preference is and really what your budget is, because these Arteza pens are quite cheaper than the Zig Clean Color Real Brush markers. I did test out the water brushes quite a bit, but I found myself still going to my blender pen, which is what I'm using now to blend out the color. I just really like how it blends out these watercolor brush pens. Same with the zigs as with the Arteza brush pens. I just really like how the blender pen puts out a very small amount of liquid. Typically, no matter what medium I'm coloring with, I start in the shadows of the image with the darkest ink that I'm using, and then I blend it out into the highlights. That's just how I prefer to color, and it really doesn't matter what type of coloring medium I'm using. That's exactly what I'm doing to color my mermaid. Now for the background, I'm taking one of the flat brushes that came in the 6-pack, and I'm actually going to wet the background before I bring my brush pen with the color and the pigment to the paper. Now y'all should have known that I was gonna paint my mermaid to look like Ariel, and that's exactly what I did. Now for the background, I want a beautiful sunny sky and a wet water. Yeah, genius, Corey. To make it slightly different, I'm also adding some lavender and some purple into the sky at the very top where the Mermazing sentiment is. I'm using several shades of the same color to try to give my project some depth. Now, I'm not a watercolorist, so I just like to color, and that's what I'm doing. I'm completely saturating my paper. You can see the puddles that I'm creating in front of me, but I'm using several shades of blue and tan and purple to create the background, and it's much more wet than the mermaid itself. The mermaid stands out and has a lot more contrast than the wet on wet technique of the background. All in all, I really enjoyed playing with these markers. I think that for the price point, they are excellent. Since filming this video, I've actually used this watercolor paper on some other design team projects that I had to turn in, and I really enjoyed using it as well. As far as the water brushes, they hold a ton of water. I really like holding them in my hand. They felt nice, and I liked the stiffness of the brush itself. Now, I color a lot more images than I actually use on cards. I just really like to color. It's relaxing. So I've created these books, and some I use with my Copics and some I use with my colored pencils. This one I'm going to use with my Waterbrush pens and watercolors. I'm stamping my images in VersaFine Nocturne ink, which is watercolor friendly ink, and I'm just testing out some of the colors from the 48 set that really looked appealing to me. This one I think was called Parma Gray. Of course it would be a gray color, but I love being able to test out colors and color things that really, it doesn't have any meaning besides the fact of me being creative. So that's why these books are so appealing to me. This one really is nice quality, and I think I'm going to be able to use it for quite some time. I've already started keeping track of color combinations using all of my watercolor brush pens. Hey, because you stayed until the very end of the video, I'm gonna give this little book away, okay? The other one, the one that I haven't used, okay? So leave a comment below telling me what your favorite coloring medium is in the comments, and I will choose one lucky winner in 1 week's time. That's 7 days from now. And I hope you enjoyed my video. Until next time.